Hello friends, and welcome to Creative Cooking. Today we're going to make a pulled pork in the crock pot, or slow cooker as some people call them. And first we're going to make our spice mix, because we're going to make a slurry in here that we're going to use to coat the pork. It's a paprika based spice mix that has some garlic powder and thyme and some other things. Alright, you just want to whisk them together. You could actually say this is a rub, and certainly you could use it as a rub, but we're going to add a few more things. We've got a half a cup of honey, and I had to scrounge around a couple of containers for that, so it's time to buy some more. And yeah, honey, it's going to get sweetness in there, very natural sweetness. We're also going to add some olive oil, about 3 tablespoons of that, and some red wine vinegar to add acidity to this mix. And like I said, we're going to make a slurry out of this. You can see it's got a nice bright red color from the paprika. It's good stuff. And now we're going to take our pork shoulder. We got a 6.5 pounder here. And I'm going to do something that's going to seem unconventional, and that is to cut slits at the top of the meat. Just remember, we're not roasting this or smoking this. We're going to do this in a slow cooker, so you have all that steam that's trapped underneath the cover. It will not dry out. But more importantly, okay, we're going to put this into our pan on top of some onion. And that's basically one large onion that's been cut into 3 sections. And that's going to raise our roast off the bottom. It's going to give us about 1/2 inch, all right? Because we don't want that resting directly on the bottom of the cooker, because that's where the heat comes from. It'll burn, right? So we want to raise it. Then we're going to take our slurry, and we're going to put that down all of these crevices, okay? So that's one of the reasons for cutting it in the first place. We've got a place for the slurry to go, and it's going to help with cooking. Going to help speed up the cooking process, even though we're doing a slow cook. The rest goes over the top, as you can see, and you don't need to add water. You might think at first that you need to add water. You don't. Set it on low, put the cover on, and let that cook for 8 hours. But at a couple of different intervals, like 2 hours in and 2 hours later than that, you may want to just check it, see how it's doing, make sure nothing's burning. Baste it with some of that sauce that's developing on the bottom, which is a combination of the spice mix and the honey and the vinegar and juices that actually come out of the meat. And maybe once or twice you may want to flip this on its side, like you see here. And that's pretty much all you have to do. This is one of those things where you just put the cover on and go mow the lawn, for example, or paint your house. Or however you spend your time. And then after letting it cool down in the slow cooker, look what happens. The bone just pulls right out. In other words, the connective tissue is no longer connecting. This is what you call fall off the bone meat. It's delicious. And you'll also notice that you'll have some fat between the sections of meat. They're like different sections. I try to remove as much of that as I can, because I really don't like the texture of all that fat, you know. And I'll inspect each piece before I get to this point. And then I'll shred it with a fork and a knife, or 2 forks, or whatever I have, until I have it to the size chunks and shreds that I want. And that only takes a few minutes to do. But in the meantime, I want to show you something else. Okay, I'm not done shredding. Some of that sauce on the bottom, I have reserved all of it. I've got about a little over a cup, and you'll see that little yellow band on the top. That's the fat that rises to the top. We're going to scoop that out with a spoon. But if you had one of those gravy separators, that would be the ideal tool to use in this case, right? And one of these days I'm going to get one of those gravy separators. I really want one. And yeah, you don't want to remove all the fat, but most of it, because we're going to redistribute that back over the meat. And you might say, well, boy, that's a lot of fluid, a lot of liquid. But it's not. That pork is going to be like a sponge. With all that surface area that you create when you shred this, and the fact that it has dried out a little bit, it'll soak it right back up. And it'll be nice and moist and delicious just the way it is. You may want to adjust for seasoning, salt, pepper, those kinds of things. And then I took a little bit of that sauce, and I left it in the cup. And I'm adding regular barbecue sauce to this. You could use whatever barbecue sauce you like. All right, and that's for the people that really want barbecue sauce. But remember, the spices and the honey that we put in already created sort of a barbecue sauce. It already has a nice sweetness to it. This is just extra, and that's all it really is to me. Now to eat it, you got to put it on rolls. You can use hamburger rolls. These happen to be brioche hamburger rolls. You could use hot dog rolls, hoagies, just about anything, really. I like to toast them with a little bit of butter, but you can do this on the grill, or you can do them on a griddle like I'm doing here without the butter. Again, that's up to you. Just make sure you don't burn them. And then we're ready to make our sandwich. And what we're going to do is we're going to pile on the delicious, juicy pork. All right, we're going to make this one real thick, too. Not that I normally eat that much. I mean, I'd probably stop right there. But since I'm taking pictures, I might as well pile it up a little bit higher. All right, look at that. Can't wait. And then we're going to put some of the sauce on, and you'll notice that it's thinner than barbecue, and that's intentional, so that it can actually ooze down in between those little pieces of meat all the way down to the bread. And then we're going to top it off with something unconventional. Most people would use coleslaw, and I agree, that's great. But I like these hot pepper rings. I think that brininess of those hot pepper rings pairs up really well with the sweetness of that pork and with the sauce. And so there you have it. A beautiful sandwich. Have that with some potato salad, maybe some onion rings. Whatever you do, I hope you try it. And I hope you come back each week for more great videos made for people who like to cook. Until then, ciao.